Zalara stood before the Grand Council of the Calraxian Empire, her blue skin shimmering under the harsh lights of the Imperial Chamber, her three-fingered hands clasped tightly behind her back as she awaited their judgment. The 7 elder members of the council stared down at her from their elevated platforms, their expressions unreadable behind their ceremonial masks. "What you did at the royal gala was unacceptable for someone of your status," said council member Vex, his voice echoing through the chamber. "You embarrassed not only yourself but the entire royal family. And by extension, our species." Zalara kept her 3 eyes focused straight ahead, refusing to show any sign of regret, even though she knew her actions had been foolish. Challenging the ambassador from the Draken Federation to a strength contest after consuming too much fermented nectar had indeed been a poor decision, especially when she had lost so spectacularly as punishment for your behavior. "The council has reached a decision," continued Vex. "You will be sent to observe a lesser species, one that we have been monitoring for potential future contact. They call themselves humans." Zalara's eyes widened in shock. Humans were considered barely evolved by Calraxian standards, a species still struggling with primitive technology and tribal conflicts. Sending a royal princess to live among them was more than punishment. It was humiliation. You will spend 1 full rotation of their planet around their star, living among them disguised. As one of them said, another council member, her voice tinged with amusement, "You will learn their customs, their language, their primitive ways. Perhaps then you will appreciate the privilege of your position." Zalara wanted to protest but knew it would only make matters worse. Her mother, the Empress, had already expressed her disappointment and would not intervene this time. Zalara had no choice but to accept her fate. 2 cycles later, Zalara found herself aboard a small scout vessel approaching the blue planet the humans called Earth. The medical officers had spent days altering her appearance, creating a holographic disguise that would make her appear human. They had reduced her height, shortened her extra finger on each hand, changed her blue skin to a pale beige and hidden her 3rd eye. The result was strange and uncomfortable but effective. "Your identity documents have been prepared," said Commander Drez, handing her a small data crystal. "Your name will be Lily Sanders, a transfer student at their educational facility called University. You will study their science of biology, specifically their theories about life on other planets." The irony was not lost on Zalara, who accepted the crystal with a stiff nod. "You will check in weekly with your handler, who will be disguised as another student. She will monitor your progress and report back to the council. She will also provide you with necessary resources for your survival among the humans." "And if I reveal myself to them?" asked Zalara. Drez fixed her with a stern look that would trigger immediate extraction of both you and any humans who learned of our existence. The council was clear. No contact protocol remains in effect for this species. They are not ready. The landing was smooth, the scout vessel using cloaking technology to avoid detection by the primitive human scanning systems. Zalara was taken to her assigned living quarters, a small compartment in a building filled with young humans. It was called a dormitory, and it was where she would spend most of her time when not at the educational facility. Her first days on Earth were overwhelming. The sensory input alone was difficult to process. Humans were loud, their voices constantly filling the air, their bodies emitting strange odors, their movements unpredictable and often aggressive in ways that made no sense to her. Their food was bizarre, their customs confusing. Her handler Kyla, disguised as a human named Amy Wilson, helped her navigate the basics. How to use their primitive hygiene facilities, how to operate their simple electronic devices, how to avoid drawing attention. But much of it, Zalara had to learn through observation and trial and error. The educational facility, called Oregon State University, was a sprawling complex of buildings filled with humans of various ages, though most appeared to be young adults in their reproductive prime. They gathered in large groups in rooms called classrooms, where older humans called professors shared information. In inefficient verbal presentations, when Calraxians could simply transfer data directly from mind to mind, Zalara found their method of learning fascinating if tedious. They used physical objects called books and primitive electronic devices to store and access information. They asked questions, they debated, they formed social bonds that seemed to have no practical purpose, yet were clearly important to them. In her xenobiology class, Zalara struggled to keep from laughing aloud at their theories about potential alien life, most of which were hilariously wrong. They imagined beings with tentacles with multiple heads with silicon-based biology, all while an actual alien sat among them. Taking notes, it was in another class called Introduction to Astronomy where Zalara first encountered him. Noah Campbell was what humans called a teaching assistant, a young male who helped the professor manage the class. He had dark hair and eyes that reminded Zalara of the night sky on her homeworld, and when he smiled, something strange happened to her internal systems. Her two hearts beat faster than normal. Her skin felt warm beneath her holographic disguise, and she found herself wanting to speak with him more than was necessary for her mission. Parameters: this was not part of the plan, and Zalara knew she should avoid such reactions but found herself unable to do. Soon day after class, as Zalara was gathering her materials, Noah approached her desk. "Lily, right?" he said with that smile that caused her hearts to race. "I noticed your questions about exoplanets were really insightful. Have you studied astronomy before?" Zalara reminded herself to use the simplified speech patterns of humans. "Yes, I mean no. Not formally, just interested in stars and planets and what might live on them." Noah nodded enthusiastically. "Well, if you're interested, the astronomy department is hosting a stargazing event tonight at the observatory outside town. Students are welcome. It's a great chance to use the big telescope." Zalara knew she should decline, knew that developing any kind of relationship with a human was not part of her mission, but something in his expression made her say yes. Before she could reconsider, "I could even give you a ride if you want." Noah offered there and back. It's about 20 minutes from campus. Zalara agreed before she could talk herself out of it. That evening she met Noah outside her dormitory building, feeling strangely nervous as his vehicle approached. She had studied human transportation methods but had yet to actually ride in one of their combustion engine vehicles. The evening that followed changed everything for Zalara. As they drove away from the lights of the human settlement, the sky darkened, revealing stars that looked different from this planet yet somehow familiar. Noah spoke of constellations of human myths about the sky of his dream, to one day work for something called NASA, and perhaps discover evidence of life beyond Earth. "If only you knew," thought Zalara as she listened to his passionate descriptions of what alien life might be like, all while sitting next to an actual alien princess. Back at the university, Zalara met with Kyla in a secluded area of the campus gardens despite the winter chill. They walked slowly along the empty paths, Kyla immediately sensing something had changed. "What happened?" asked Kyla, her voice sharp with concern. "Your biosignatures are all wrong. You're experiencing hormonal fluctuations consistent with pair bonding." Zalara took a deep breath, preparing herself for the reaction her words would cause. "I have developed feelings for a human." Kyla stopped, walking her disguised form, showing shock even through the holographic overlay. "This is unacceptable. You know the protocol. No emotional attachment to study subjects, especially not with humans. They're barely sentient by our standards. They are more than we thought." Zalara insisted. "They've developed art, philosophy, music. They value things we have forgotten." Kyla cut her off with a sharp gesture. "I don't care if they've composed the most beautiful symphony in the galaxy. They are a level 3, pre-contact species. And you are a royal princess. Your duty is to your people, not to some primitive human." Zalara felt anger rise within her, something she rarely experienced on Kelrax, where emotional control was prized above all else. But her time on Earth had changed her, taught her that emotions were not weakness but strength, not something to be suppressed but embraced. "I am considering telling him the truth." Zalara said the words hanging in the cold air between them. Kyla's reaction was immediate and severe. "Absolutely not. That violates every protocol we have. The council would order immediate memory wiping for the human, and you would face exile at minimum. He deserves to know who I really am, what I really am." Zalara insisted. Kyla moved closer, her voice dropping to a harsh whisper. "This assignment ends in 4 months. Then you return home to your real life as princess of the Kelraxian Empire. This human romance is a temporary diversion. Nothing more. I will not report this. Lapse in judgment to the council if you ended immediately." Zalara said nothing, but her silence was answer enough. "Fine." Kyla said, her voice cold. I am increasing surveillance on you. If you attempt to reveal yourself to this human, we will extract both of you immediately, and the consequences will be severe. The threat hung in the air as Kyla walked away, leaving Zalara alone with her thoughts. She knew what she should do. End her relationship with Noah. Return to her assignment as an observer only. Complete her time on Earth and go home. But the thought of it filled her with a sadness she had never known before. Over the next few weeks, Zalara tried to distance herself from Noah, making excuses to avoid their usual study sessions, claiming illness when he invited her to dinner. But Noah was persistent, concerned about the sudden change. Finally, after 2 weeks of avoidance, he confronted her outside her dormitory. "Lily, what's going on?" he asked, his expression pained. "Did I do something wrong?" Zalara couldn't bear to see him hurting because of her actions. "No," she said quickly. "You didn't do anything wrong, it's not." Noah gave a sad laugh. "That's what humans say when they want to break up with someone. It's not you." It's Zalara realized he had misunderstood. "I don't want to break up with you," she said, the words escaping before she could stop them. "Then what's wrong?" Noah pressed. "Why are you avoiding me?" Zalara looked around, aware that Kyla could be monitoring them at this very moment. "There's something I need to tell you," she said, making a decision that would change everything, but not here. "Meet me at the observatory tonight at midnight." Noah looked confused but nodded. "I will be there, Zal." Zalara spent the hours before their meeting preparing herself, knowing that once she revealed her true identity, there would be no going back. She disabled the tracking device implanted in her human disguise, a trick she had learned from her royal security training. She then left a false trail suggesting she was spending the night in the university library, a location heavily shielded by human electronic equipment that interfered with Calraxian scanning technology. At precisely midnight, she arrived at the observatory, finding Noah already waiting, his breath visible in the cold night air, his expression a mixture of concern and confusion. "Lily, what's going on?" he asked as she approached. "You're acting like you're in some kind of trouble." Zalara took a deep breath. "What I'm about to show you will change everything between us," she said, her voice steady despite her racing hearts. "You may not want anything to do with me afterward, and I would understand." Noah shook his head. "Nothing you could tell me would change how I feel about you." Zalara managed a small smile. "We shall see." She took his hand and led him inside the observatory to the main chamber where the telescope pointed up through the open dome to the stars above. "No, I am not who you think I am." Zalara began. "My name isn't Lily Sanders. I'm not a transfer student. I'm not even human." Noah stared at her, his expression shifting from confusion to concern. "Lily, if this is a joke..." "It's not a joke," Zalara interrupted, "and I can prove it." She reached for the small device at her wrist that controlled her holographic disguise. "Before you see my true form, I want you to know that everything else has been real. My feelings for you are real." Before Noah could respond, Zalara pressed the control, deactivating her disguise. The human image of Lily Sanders flickered and disappeared, revealing her true Calraxian form, taller than an average human with iridescent blue skin, 3 fingers on each hand, and most startling of all, 3 eyes arranged in a triangle on her face. Noah stumbled backward, his eyes wide with shock, his mouth opening but no sound emerging. "This is who I really am," Zalara said, her true voice deeper and more melodic than her human voice. "My name is Zalara, 3rd princess of the Calraxian Empire from a planet 12 light-years from your Earth." Noah reached out a hand as if to touch her, then pulled back. "This can't be real," he whispered. "Aliens, aren't you? Can't be. I am very real," Zalara said. "I was sent here to observe humans as punishment for my behavior at home. What my people call a humbling assignment. We have been watching Earth for centuries, but direct contact is forbidden. Humans are considered too primitive, too violent for official relations." Noah seemed to be processing her words, his scientific mind working through the shock. "This is why you knew so much about astronomy. Why you asked such strange questions in biology. Why you sometimes looked confused by simple things." Zalara nodded. "I have been living disguised among your people, learning your ways. My mission was only to observe, never to interact beyond what was necessary. Certainly never to form attachments, but you did form attachments." Noah said, finding his voice at last with me. I did, Zalara confirmed, which is why I am breaking every rule of my people by revealing myself to you, my handler. My people would see this as treason. Noah moved closer, studying her true form with wonder rather than fear or disgust. Why tell me, why risk everything? Because I love you, Zalara said, the human word feeling strange. Yet right, I have learned much about humans during my time here, but the most important thing I learned was from you. That connection, that emotion, that love is not a weakness, as my people believe, but a strength. Noah reached out again this time, his hand making contact with her blue skin, his fingers tracing the pattern of luminescent markings on her arm. You're beautiful, he said, his voice filled with awe. And you're real, actual proof that we're not alone. Zalara felt relief wash over her. She had expected rejection, fear, perhaps even anger. But Noah was reacting with the curiosity and openness that had drawn her to him in the first place. What happens now? He asked, his hand still on her arm. Will you have to leave eventually? Yes, Zalara admitted. My assignment ends. In a few months, then I am expected to return home. Noah's face fell. I just found you, the real you, and you'll leave. Zalara moved closer, taking his face in her three-fingered hands. Not necessarily, she said. I am considering options I have never considered. Before, my life on Kelrax is one of privilege but also restriction. Here on Earth with you, I have found a freedom I never knew existed. What are you saying? Noah asked, hope returning to his eyes. Zalara looked up at the stars visible through the observatory. Dome, I'm saying that perhaps there is a third option. Not me returning to Kelrax alone, not me staying on Earth and hiding, but something else entirely, something that could change both our worlds. The observatory was located on a hill outside the city, a dome-shaped building housing what humans considered a powerful telescope, though to Zalara it seemed like ancient technology, barely able to observe neighboring planets, let alone distant stars still. She pretended to be impressed as Noah showed her how to use it. Look, he said, adjusting the eyepiece. You can see the rings of Saturn. Zalara leaned forward to look, even though she had seen the ringed planet up close during her journey. To Earth, the view through the primitive telescope was surprisingly beautiful in its simplicity. Wow, she said, genuinely impressed not by the technology, but by the wonder in Noah's voice as he described the planet. They spent hours under the stars, with Noah pointing out constellations and Zalara carefully hiding how much more she actually knew about those distant suns, many of which had planets with civilizations far more advanced than Earth. She found herself enjoying his company, his enthusiasm, his genuine passion for knowledge. When other humans at the observatory began to leave, Noah suggested they sit outside for a while longer. The night was warm for early autumn, and the sky was exceptionally clear. They sat on a blanket he had brought, and Zalara found herself studying his profile in the darkness. The strange single ridge of his nose, the rounded ears, the five-fingered hands, all so different from her people, yet somehow appealing. Do you ever think there's someone out there looking back at us right now? Noah asked. Gazing upward, more than you know, Zalara thought to herself. Instead, she said, perhaps I think the universe is too big for us to be alone. Noah's smile widened. I knew you were different from the first day in class. Most people think I'm crazy for believing so strongly in alien life. Zalara felt a twinge of guilt at deceiving him. What makes you so sure they're out there? Noah was quiet for a moment before answering. I just can't accept that all this. He gestured to the vast sky above them is empty. It seems like such a waste of space if we're the only intelligent life in all those billions of galaxies. Besides, when you look at how life evolved here, how it adapted to every possible environment, from deep-sea vents to Arctic ice, it seems inevitable that it would evolve elsewhere. Too, his reasoning would sound much more logical than Zalara had expected from a human. Perhaps her people had underestimated them. Over the following weeks, Zalara found herself spending more and more time with Noah. They studied together, ate meals together, went on what humans called hikes in the natural areas surrounding the university. During these times, Zalara learned more about human culture than she ever could have from mere observation. Her weekly reports to her handler became increasingly detailed about human behavior, but she carefully omitted the growing closeness between herself and Noah. Kyla, however, noticed the change in her behavior. You're becoming too attached, warned Kyla during one of their check-in meetings, her human disguise as Amy Wilson firmly in place. "Remember, this is temporary. You are a royal princess of the Calraxian Empire, not some human college student. Your life is not here." Zalara knew Kyla. Quasright knew that in less than 8 Earth months she would return to her real life, leaving this planet and Noah behind. But something had changed within her. She found herself comparing Calraxian customs to human ones, often finding her own people lacking in areas she had never considered before. Humans formed bonds based on emotional connection rather than political advantage. They chose their own paths rather than having them dictated by birth status. They valued individual expression over collective uniformity. All concepts that went against everything Zalara had been taught, yet seemed to create a society that, while technologically primitive, was rich in ways Calraxians had forgotten. The turning point came during their winter break, a period when most students returned to their family dwellings. Noah, learning that Lily supposedly had no family to return to, invited her to join him at his parents' home for something called Christmas. Zalara knew she should decline. Her handler explicitly forbade it, saying it would be too much exposure to human customs, too much risk of discovery. But Zalara found herself agreeing anyway. Noah's family lived in a small dwelling in a place called Montana, a region covered in snow during winter months. His parents were immediately welcoming, treating Zalara as if she were already part of their family unit. An experience entirely foreign to her. On Calrax, family units were formal, hierarchical, with clear boundaries and expectations. Here, Noah's mother hugged her upon arrival. His father asked about her studies with genuine interest. His younger sister immediately included her in their traditions, decorating a tree inside their home, exchanging wrapped objects called gifts, sharing meals, prepared by everyone together. On the third night of her stay, Zalara and Noah walked through the snow-covered landscape under a sky brilliant with stars. The cold air made her holographic disguise flicker slightly. A malfunction. She hoped Noah hadn't noticed. "This is my favorite place in the world," he said, gesturing to the mountains surrounding them. "I come here whenever I need to remember how small we all are compared to the universe." Zalara nodded, understanding perfectly. On Calrax, the royal family lived separated from nature in climate-controlled environments. This connection to the natural world was something her people had lost long ago. Noah turned to face her, his expression suddenly serious. "Lily, there's something I need to tell you." Zalara felt her heart's beat faster, afraid he had noticed something about her disguise. "I've been wanting to say this for weeks now, but I was afraid it would ruin our friendship," he continued. "I have feelings for you. More than friendship feelings, I think. I've fallen in love with you." The human concept of love was something Zalara had studied but never expected to experience herself. Calraxians formed partnerships based on genetic compatibility and social advantage, not emotional attachment. Yet here was this human declaring feelings that seemed to match the strange reactions her own body had been experiencing around him. "I know it's crazy. We haven't known each other that long," Noah continued when she didn't immediately respond. "And if you don't feel the same way, I understand. We can pretend I never said anything." Zalara knew she should reject him, knew that any deeper relationship would only make her eventual departure more difficult, knew that her handler and the council would be furious, but instead she found herself moving closer to him. "I feel the same way," she said, the words feeling strange yet right on her tongue. What followed was her first experience with human physical affection, their lips meeting in what humans called a kiss. It was strange at first, the sensation foreign but not unpleasant. Her holographic disguise maintaining the illusion of human contact, while her actual Calraxian form experienced everything. That night, as Noah slept in his room and Zalara in the guest room provided by his parents, she stared at the ceiling, thinking about what had happened. She had come to this planet expecting to find primitive beings barely worth studying. Instead, she had found Noah, and through him a perspective on life that challenged everything she had been taught. For the first time, Zalara began to question whether she wanted to return to Calrax when her assignment ended, a thought that would have been unthinkable just months before her royal duties. Her position, her entire identity was bound to her homeworld. Yet something about Earth, about Noah, made her wonder if there might be another path. The following morning, Zalara sent a message to her handler requesting a meeting upon their return to the university. Kyla responded immediately, sensing the urgency. But Zalara revealed nothing in her communications, knowing that what she was considering would be seen as nothing short of treason by her people. The following weeks were filled with secret meetings between Zalara and Noah. Always in remote locations, always with Zalara in her true form. She taught him about her people, their history, their technology, their customs, and in turn, he helped her understand humanity better than any official observation could have. They formed a plan risky, but potentially world-changing. Zalara would contact her mother, the Empress, directly bypassing the Council and her handlers. She would propose a radical idea: official first contact with humans, using her relationship with Noah as a bridge between their species. "I still don't understand why your people think we're so primitive," Noah said one evening as they sat in an abandoned cabin in the mountains that belonged to a friend of his. "I mean, yes, our technology isn't as advanced, but we're not savages." Zalara sighed. "It isn't just technology," she explained. "Kelraxians value order above all else. We believe true civilization requires perfect harmony. Humans are seen as chaotic, unpredictable. You wage wars over resources, over ideas, over invisible borders. You damage your own planet. You allow some of your people to suffer while others have abundance." Noah couldn't argue with these points, but that's only part of who we are. He said, "We also create art that can move people to tears. We sacrifice for strangers. We forgive our enemies. We constantly strive to be better than we are." Zalara nodded. "I have seen this side of humanity too. It is why I believe my people are wrong about yours. We have much to learn from each other." Their plan was set in motion on the spring equinox. Zalara, using equipment she had smuggled from her handler, created a direct communication link to the Imperial Palace on Kelrax, a serious violation of protocol. But as a royal princess, she knew codes that would get her past the security systems. The response was immediate, her mother, Empress Zaladria, appearing as a hologram, her expression shifting from surprise to anger to concern. "Zalara, what is the meaning of this? Direct communication is forbidden during observation missions." "Mother, I need to speak with you urgently," Zalara said, keeping her voice steady. "It concerns my mission and potentially the future of our relations with humans." The Empress noticed Noah standing behind her daughter. "Who is that?" she demanded, her voice sharp. "A human. You have revealed yourself. This is treason." Zalara moved closer to the hologram. "Mother, please listen. I have discovered something important about humans. Something that changes everything. They are not what we thought. Not what the Council reports say they are capable of. Acceptance of growth, of change." Empress Zaladria was silent for a long moment, studying her daughter and the human male. Beside her, explained, she said finally. Zalara told her everything: how she had come to know Noah, how he had accepted her true form without fear, how she believed humans were ready for contact, that an alliance between their species could benefit both worlds. The Empress listened without interruption. When Zalara finished, she turned her attention to Noah. "Human," she said, her voice commanding. "Do you understand what my daughter is proposing? The consequences if this goes wrong." Noah stepped forward, meeting the Empress's gaze with determination. "I do, Your Highness," he said. "I understand that our worlds are different, that we have much to learn from each other, but I believe it's worth the risk. I love your daughter, and I believe in what we could accomplish together." Empress Zaladria studied him carefully, measuring his words. "You speak boldly for a member of a species that still fights over which invisible deity is superior." Noah smiled slightly with respect. "Your Highness, we also build hospitals in countries we've never visited, save endangered species that offer us nothing, and create music that can touch souls across language barriers. We contain multitudes." Zalara watched this exchange, her heart's beating rapidly at Noah's courage in addressing her mother directly. Few Kelraxians would dare speak so plainly to the Empress after what seemed like an eternity. Zaladria spoke. "I will consider what you have said, both of you, but understand this. If I decide against contact, all evidence of our existence will be removed from Earth, including your memories, human." With that, the hologram disappeared, leaving Zalara and Noah in silence. "Did I just talk to an alien, Empress?" Noah asked, breaking the tension. Zalara laughed softly. "Yes, and survived, which is more than many Kelraxian politicians can claim." They waited 3 Earth days for a response in that time. Zalara explained the likely outcomes. If her mother ruled against them, she would be extracted, immediately returned to Kelrax for punishment. Noah would have his memories of her true identity erased. He would remember Lily Sanders as an exchange student who returned home, nothing more. The response came as Zalara had expected, not directly from her mother, but in the form of an Imperial transport, landing cloaked in the forest outside the university. Kyla and 2 royal guards disembarking their expressions. Grim Zalara and Noah met them in a clearing, their hands clasped together in the human gesture of solidarity. Princess Zalara, said Kyla, her voice formal by order of Her Imperial Majesty Empress Zaladria. You are to return to Kelrax immediately for consultation. The human is to accompany you. Zalara blinked in surprise. The human Noah Campbell is to come to Kelrax. Kyla nodded, though. She clearly disapproved the Empress wishes to evaluate him personally before making her decision regarding your proposal. This was unprecedented. No human had ever been brought to Kelrax. Intentionally, the implications were enormous. We leave immediately, said Kyla. We have created a cover story for his absence from the university. A family emergency requiring immediate departure. Noah looked at Zalara, questions in his eyes. Is this safe? He whispered. What will your world be like for Zalara squeezed, his hand gently. I will be with you the entire time. No harm will come to you, I promise. The journey to Kelrax took 12 days in the Imperial transport, faster than any human vessel could travel. But slow by Kelraxian standards. Noah spent much of the time learning the basics of Kelraxian language and customs, Zalara teaching him what he needed to know to avoid major cultural offenses. The planet Kelrax, when they finally arrived, was nothing like Earth, where Earth was blue and green. Kelrax was purple and gold, its atmosphere thicker, its gravity slightly stronger. Noah had to wear an adaptation suit to survive comfortably, the air composition different enough to make breathing difficult. The Imperial Palace was a massive structure of crystalline towers and suspended walkways located in the capital city of Zaldrex. Noah stared in wonder as they approached his human mind, struggling to comprehend the scale and beauty of Kelraxian architecture. Your world is amazing, he said, his voice filled with awe I never imagined. Zalara watched his reaction with pride, feeling a strange reversal of their positions. Now she was the guide and he the observer. Just as she had been on Earth, they were taken directly to the throne room where Empress Zaladria awaited, surrounded by the full Imperial Council. All 7 members present their ceremonial masks in place. Zalara felt Noah tense beside her, sensing the importance of this moment. Empress Zaladria rose as they entered her tall form, imposing in ceremonial armor. Princess Zalara. Welcome home, she said formally, her gaze then shifting to Noah. Human, Noah Campbell. Welcome to Kelrax. You are the first of your kind to stand in this chamber. Noah bowed, following Zalara's instructions. On proper protocol, Your Majesty. Thank you for this honor. The Empress gestured for them to approach. I have reviewed my daughter's proposal for official contact with Earth. It is unprecedented, potentially dangerous, and against all established protocols. Zalara felt her heart sink. It is also, Zalaria continued, possibly the most important diplomatic opportunity in 5 generations. Murmurs erupted from the council members, some clearly opposed, others intrigued. I have decided, the Empress announced, that we will proceed with a modified version of Princess Zalara's proposal. A small delegation will return to Earth with you to establish preliminary diplomatic relations with your world leaders. This will be done gradually, carefully, with extensive preparation.